Episode number 34 with Doug Lyford. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And how are you doing, Mike?
Very good.
Good.
First of all, I'm very excited about our guest today, Mr. Doug Lyford. We talked to him 4 months ago.
Yep, episode number 15.
And me and him had very similar ambitions here, which is, can you pay your bills with just playing poker? I'm skeptical, but maybe we'll get some more answers when we talk to him.
Yeah, I'm excited. We had Doug on, what'd you say, 4 months ago? It was in March, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I know it was episode 15, and so if you want to go back and listen to that episode, you can. He had just quit his job, a full-time job as an engineer. He was making, I think, 70 or 80K a year, and he quit that to play cards full-time, getting coaching by Ben Reasons and Mark Aliotto. And I talked to him on the phone probably a couple weeks ago, and he said something about him and his girlfriend were looking at buying a house. So he must be doing okay. And he had that recent score on Bovada of, I think it was over $4,000, something like that.
I have 2 words for you. Sugar Mama. That's the only way that dweeb is buying a house right now. Let me tell you that.
We'll see. But I'm excited. I'm excited to have him on the show. He's starting up a podcast with Daryl Jace.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So he I guess they're on YouTube right now. I couldn't find him though. So maybe we can put a link in the show notes once we get him on. And he was picking my brain about how to get on iTunes and like that. So maybe after the show, he and I can screen share and I can show him the ins and outs of what to do with the. Get the podcast.
That should be some high level stuff there for those who like strategy. That might even surpass the Thinking Poker podcast in terms of some brain power there. I don't know.
It just might. Daryl Jace is really good, and
right.
Doug is too.
And maybe unlike those guys, we can save us some of the insipid social commentary that Brokus slips in there. But
yeah.
I know you don't like one human being speaking of another, but yeah, no. Sometimes I finally just can't take any more of that, and I try to fast forward. When he's talking about poker, it's brilliant. But
yeah. I feel the same way sometimes. It's a little tough. But
no, it's not. Anyways, yesterday was a perfect day, Steve.
Oh,
I'm very proud. I have this thing where it's just. I'm always like, I got to reorganize my life. And I actually write this when I'm writing and working on my novel. I'm like, how about one day? Meaning like, let's just follow through on all your little plans for one day.
Yeah.
And yesterday morning I said, this is going to be the one day where we just I'll just explain the day. I just got up early and I walked down to the pier and I stopped to have coffee. And I had my little writing book and wrote some, not just taking notes on a novel, but I actually wrote like half of a chapter.
Wow.
I don't talk too much about that kind of ambition because it's so unlikely to achieve that. Like I feel like I'm definitely winning a bracelet, but that I don't know. But anyways, then I came home, I told myself exercise, eating right, and then reading and writing to have something outside of poker. So I did that. I came home. I got my little sun for the day. Then I sat outside and I read for about an hour and a half. And then I went to the casino and played poker. And I had my meals were like very, very low, no carbs. I mean, this is boring as hell, but I had, what did I had? I had the chicken Caesar salad, and then later on, I can't remember. Oh, I had the fish with some broccoli, steamed broccoli.
Wow.
And when I came home later, my roommate was getting this pizza, and there's a place down the street which just has fucking great pizza. The Meat Lover is my favorite. And I said, no, I'm just having a protein bar and a banana.
Wow.
So anyways, you don't lose 9 pounds because of that. But, anyways, so I was like, another one of my little promises. It's kind of fun. Ben Reason says he's talking about how he tries to limit himself on social media.
Yeah.
And I told myself there's just unless I'm watching a poker training video or like emailing someone, there's really almost no reason to be online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yesterday was one of those days too where I get on Twitter. I mean, listen, like, Eric Crane is just, if you follow his Twitter, man, he's just really slyly, often brilliantly funny. You know what I mean? So, but, if I miss his tweets for a couple of weeks, it doesn't really affect my overall happiness in life either. You know what I mean? So, and I played well. I thought the cash game, there's always one hand I pay someone off where I shouldn't, but I didn't really have a lot of big hands, but I played for 6 hours and walked out of there up, I think, $289.
Nice.
So almost exactly the $50 I aspire to.
Yeah.
Then, I came back home and, called my son, did a little stretching. Then I, deal with my bad back issues. Then I sat down and fired up Bovada, and I won $12,000 yesterday, Steve.
Holy shit. Sweet Jesus. Oh my, congratulations, man. Nice.
Yeah, no, it was a good, I finally shipped the tournament there. It was only a $25K, $100 buy-in, but there was like 560 entries, so there was over 50,000 in the prize pool, and I got first.
Nice.
And, then I final table another one, and, that was $400 or $500. So,
good for you, man.
Anyways, and, so I was very proud of myself, dude.
You couldn't slap the smile off my face right now, man. It feels so good to hear you say that. Good for you. Good for you.
So I'm going to see if I can string two of these together here. Today I did the same thing. I went down and got my coffee, got my exercise for the day. I mean, eventually my exercise plan involves, swimming and getting some like real cardio in. But, got my coffee, wrote a little bit, came back here and did some laundry, blah, blah, blah. So this sounds kind of ridiculous to any normal human being out there who's whenever they're doing something, they're trying to do something which advances their life or whatever. But for me, this was revolutionary where I'm not just trying to kill time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, very happy about that. And, we'll see. And Bovada, allegedly, I'm told, pays you quickly. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I've had one experience with that, and literally the check came 2 days later, and it was from Canada. And it showed up in the mail, and I had to sign for it, and then that was it. It was pretty impressive.
Okay, well, it's good. Yeah, I got 13,000 in the account now or something. So,
nice.
I don't know how much I should leave in. I mean, I was looking at their upcoming series. There's like a $500 buy-in, which I'll play. I'll probably leave 5K in there.
Okay.
I usually on Merge, it was always 2,500 to me. And if I got a redeposit. But, Bovada charges you to deposit there, and there's no sense to redeposit.
No.
But I definitely want to get, at least leave no more than 5K off. So I'll be taking off 8,000 in the next month.
Okay.
And, so that'll feel great where, not that you won't hear me bitch about carbon poker every now and then, but that'll be, that'll be great. Just, that'll be fair, quotation marks. You win a poker tournament and someone actually gives you money for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any real hands to discuss from the tournament. I mean, of course, it involved me getting really lucky a couple times. I got it in ace king against kings, hit the ace.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had king 8 on the button, and somebody had shoved 3 big blinds from middle position, and I reshoved with like 19 bigs. And I ran into ace king and had a king 8 on the flop and held.
Okay.
So there's always going to be those. But once again, I think
you can't
like,
win a tournament without getting lucky, especially not with that many people.
But I really think like late game, a lot of it's just not luck. Like it started 3-handed. We all had like almost exactly the same amount of chips. We each had 2 million.
Yeah.
And I did the thing I told you. I sat in my room and turned off the movie or whatever when it got to a final table and just, turned on my little soothing music, and I'm just like, especially once it got to 3-handed, there's no way I'm not losing. There's no way I'm not winning this tournament. I don't care who they are. And I'm just going to slowly, again, it's not like king 3, 4 bets. And I mean, there's definitely a couple high variance spots I took there. But, by the time I got heads up, I had 4 million. The other guy had 1.9 or whatever it was. And, I mean, if I looked at the hands, I probably got lucky at some point. But, that's just the way I feel. That you just get me some chips, get me late in a tournament, and, I've got the edge over pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, it felt great. And, hopefully I should put a great thanks to Carlos here because I watched his series. And for the first time, even before I'm like Bovada, I'm like, I just have to tighten my range in these tournaments. These tournaments take 5 hours and not 9 hours on Merge.
Yeah.
They move quickly. As pretty as, I mean, these probably aren't hands you should be opening anyways, but I was definitely, opening less hands and bluffing less. And, I think maybe last week I mentioned my discussion with Carlos. I said, it just feels like, this was in reference to my main event, but I said, it feels like if you're just waiting for hands, you're playing bad poker. Mm-hmm. And he said, he was talking about Bovada. He's like, that's just what to do. You know what I mean? Like in a live poker tournament or a cash, where people are looking at you, if you're just so inactive, you're just not going to get paid off. But he's like, it doesn't even matter. If you get a big hand, someone's going to pay you off here. There's no reason to bluff away your chips. And, I kind of still disagree. I mean, Carlos makes moves too. But I do, cause there's a couple spots in Carlos's video. I'm like, well, I would not win this tournament. I would go bust right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like once where someone opened king from early position and he had ace jack suited in the middle position with like 18 bigs. And I'm like insta-ripping there.
Yeah.
And, but then you stop to think about this guy's range with a bunch of shove stacks behind him. And, you're really not ahead of that much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not far behind his calling range, but, so Carlos, that was a video series where I could, on TPE, where I could explicitly said, well, that made me not $11,000 maybe, Yeah. Not like I never won a tournament prior to seeing this, but, I definitely think adjusting to, Bovada, I of course, anytime you win a tournament, you feel like you get it, quotation marks. But right now, I do think, I just think, I'm very optimistic about this site in my game. On it. Because, there's just people just make too many folding errors late. You know what I mean? They're not shoving, the pay jumps are so big, especially in a tournament like this, you can't really blame people.
And there's something to the, anonymity, what's the word? The anonymous factor of it? Anonymity?
Anonymity.
Is that a word?
No. Yeah, anonymity is a word, yes.
Yeah, okay, that too, I mean, you really could be playing against anybody, and especially when you're multi-tabling, it's damn near impossible to keep track of who you're against, Oh, number 5, number 283, which table was that, And then boom, you move tables, that's all over again. We're using tournament indicator?
No, because that is on my PC, which I told you is done.
Yeah.
And the Bovada originally had on my Mac, and it just kept shutting down. So they must have improved the software. So now it doesn't just shut down on you arbitrarily every 40 minutes. So I have it on there, but I don't know if I can transfer it over to the other computer, how that works. I can ask them,
You know what? You can. I transferred it from my old computer to my new one. I just sent them a note saying that my old computer took a crap and I've got this software and how do I transfer it over to my new one? And they gave me a new license code and within 5 minutes it was on my new computer. So it's they made it very easy.
Enough. I mean, the only thing I do is if someone 3-bets me, I look at the number. Okay, 52, just 3-bet. And oh, by the way, you won't be doing that again.
Okay.
I mean, It's just totally arbitrary, but it's like they're getting 4-bet the next time.
Yeah.
I mean, if they shove on me, I got to fold if I open queen 8 suited and, from middle position or whatever.
Yeah.
But, that's about the extent of my, I try to pay attention to how people are open. So I'm getting better at that where I can, and actually you could argue that, Bovada then demands more of your A game where you really do have to pay attention and be more of a game flow guy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, pretty much, of course, late in tournaments when it's 30 big blinds and under around, you're kind of like we're sort of bots at this point. We just have a certain range, and sometimes the villain always matters, but quickly, the other thing I wanted to talk about is next week's guest.
Yes.
I mean, there are stars and there are superstars.
Yes.
There are stars to be. You're a star to be.
Thank you.
But we have a superstar next week.
You're a rising star. You're a rising star.
I was just going to describe myself as a stud muffin, actually, but sort of just to go away from the poker stuff. No. But next week, if we can have a frank discussion here, man, I'm nervous about this interview. I might be bailing on this. We might have.
Don't even say that.
I'm just, well, who do we have next week?
We have Alex Fitzgerald.
Assassinato.
Yes.
Great, but he's one of the few poker players other than Daniel Negreanu who you can say has not just has people who are rooting for him, but has fans.
Yes.
Because he's such a, dynamic and interesting, really fascinating dude, and he's just very generous soul, and yeah, he's a rapper, and he's like, well, he has a personal assistant. What more do you need to know? When you were dealing,
yeah, no
with him,
kidding. I was talking with him on Facebook, and I messaged him, and he said, "Okay, yeah, let's do it. Go ahead and email me at assassinatocoaching@gmail." And so I emailed him, and then his assistant got back to me. His assistant's name is John, and he said, "Okay, I put it on Alex's schedule," and I'm like, "Jesus, that's pretty cool." Yeah, an assistant.
My thing, well, first
I
of
want
all,
an assistant.
right, of course. But my thing is, first of all, he's spoken his mind on so many things. I'm like, you don't want to go over new territory. If we can't think of some interesting stuff to talk about him, where he's like, oh, where he's kind of excited to talk.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we shouldn't be interviewing him. Not that you and I are incapable of doing that. I'm just throwing it out. I don't know if it'll be too cluttered if you can do 4-way. Because first of all, the rap is very interesting, but you are the most white bread person in the history of the world, and I'm like number 2. So like, this is like fascinating stuff, the battle rap and all that stuff. So I don't know if it's too cluttered, but if you can do a 4-way thing where we can somehow get Carlos on there, because these two are buddies, they spent time together in Vegas, and it might be interesting to see how those two communicate.
Yeah, we could.
So I don't know if that's a possibility, but
I think his rap thing is kind of interesting. If you want to go down that segue, for me, it's the poker. He's pretty much doing what I want to be doing, in 5 to 10 years. And, he's living down in Costa Rica. He's playing online poker. He's flying to the U.S. for the, WSOP and all these, circuit events and stuff. And, that's what I want to do. I want to be coaching. I want to be playing like that. I want to be able to play anywhere in the world. And my wife's going to be a pilot. I'm going to be a poker player. All we really need is an airport and a casino. And there's lots of those throughout the world. And that's what that guy's doing. And
right.
I just want to pick his brain and learn from it, That's been my whole goal from the get-go, is just to get better and to help anyone else along the way. And just kind of get integrated into the community. I was talking to my wife, it was either last night or the night before, and I was like, it's pretty amazing. 3 years ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And then my brother told me about podcasting. He said, oh, you got to listen to Adam Carolla's show. And I said, well, I don't really care about that. I said, do they have anything on poker? And he said, I don't know. So I typed in poker, and about 300 poker podcasts came up. The first one I saw was TPE, Tournament Poker Edge. I started listening to that. I'm like, these guys are cool. So last WSOP, I went out there and I actually met them. And then this last WSOP, a month or two ago, now we have our own poker podcast, and these guys are my friends. I'm like, if that can happen just inside of a couple of years, I think anything's possible in 5 or 10, you'd be proud of me, Mike. I had my first Alioto, second session, I guess, with Mark. I'm going to make it a regular thing, doing it once every 3 or 4 weeks. And it was really eye-opening. I recorded it. Yesterday I was listening to about, I got about halfway through the hand history. I got second place in a 55. There was only 28 people, nothing like a big one, but there was a fair amount of hands in it, and we found some really good spots. And Mark gave me a lot of praise. He said, yeah, you're doing really good. This is a really good review. I was pretty bummed on it too, because I ended up going heads up with a guy. I think he's a TPE member, actually. And I didn't ship it. I felt like I should have, and we found a couple of spots in there where I should have been a little bit smarter. But overall, I think I played pretty well.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm the one who told you to get coaching, right?
You're right. You did.
I mean,
you did.
It's going to be a good investment of time to talk to, a good investment of money to talk to Mark.
You're right.
Because I know it's difficult, that wallet you have, which is actually stitched to the inside of your jeans. So you need to take out a penknife just to take a nickel out of there. But no, this is just the smart thing to do. It's a no-brainer, I think.
You're right.
Because, like I said, anyways, you should stick with that, and I think there's no question your game's going to get better.
Yeah. It's improved since the first session, and then with this last one, I'm only going to get better from here. And there was a few spots where he's like, well, why are you betting here? I'm like, well, or he said, why are you raising here? And I said, well, I think I have the best hand. He's like, yeah, I think you do too. And he's like, so why not just call and let him tool out on the turn? That way you get his whole stack instead of making him fold. I'm like, that's a damn good point. I don't know why I did that. But next time I'm in that spot, I'm going to get the whole stack, not just a part of it. But,
what? I'm sorry. Can you go through that hand again? I missed it.
There was a spot where I had ace jack on the button. I raised. This guy had been calling almost everything out of the small blind. The flop, so I raise on the button, small blind calls, big blind folds. And the flop is something to the effect of like 3-3-7. He checks, and then I bet. I bet about, I think it was a little bit less than half pot. And then he asked me, well, why are you betting here? And I said, well, I think I got the best hand. He's like, I think you do too. And then he clicks it again, and then that guy raises me. And, so he check raised me. And then at that point, I shoved. And he said, why are you shoving here? And I said, well, honestly, I think he's full of shit. I know that he doesn't have anything, and he knows that I don't have anything. So, I think it's a game of chicken, and the guy that shoves is going to win. He's all, yeah, but, I think you got the best hand here with ace jack too. I mean, he's been calling almost every single raise from the small blind, so he's way too wide. Ace jack is way ahead. Why not just call his re-raise? And now he's going to have about 2/3 of his stack behind compared to the pot. Let him just shove the turn, and then you snap call him with ace high and win. I was like, that's a good point, because when I reshoved his check raise on the flop, he tanked for a while and then called. I know he was just saving face, but that was a good point. Had I just called his re-raise there, his only move at that point would either be shove or check give up. But with his stack, I don't think he would have done that. I think he would have shoved the turn. So spots like that, I could have picked up an extra, 10, 11 big blinds.
Sure. I mean, there's no universals in poker. There's times, but overall for that hand, that sounds like the play. Yeah. I probably would have just shoved there too, frankly, because there's already a lot of chips in the pot, and just taking it down is valuable, especially if it's late game. The whole ICM thing, the chips gained are so much more valuable than the chips lost.
This was approaching the middle stages.
Oh, this was middle
stages. It wasn't quite the middle of the tournament. It was probably 2/5 of the way through it.
If it's final table, I'm just ripping it in and trying to take it down.
Yeah.
In case, not that you really want to worry about the 6-outer if for some reason he calls with queen king or what. I mean, if you just flat with queen king and he turns it or whatever, but, final table, I'm like, anytime they're full of shit, if I have just a marginal hand, which that is right there. Although if you're, absolutely convinced, 90% that you got the best hand, then, but overall, if it was like final table with 4 or 5 left, I would be more likely to just say, okay, let's just rip it in and take those chips.
Yeah. Yeah. There was other spots too. Like, I was defending out of the big blind, probably with an okay range, like weak aces and stuff like that. And, but then I was doing a lot of check give up on the flop, and there would be spots where, one in particular, I remember I had like, ace 3 offsuit, and then the flop comes down. I basically got, let's see, what was the flop? I think it was 2-7-9, and, with 2 hearts. And he's like, now, if you had the ace of hearts here, you got a check raise. He's all, since you don't, and you got the ace of spades, he's like, check give up is okay. And then there was another hand that came down like that too. I defended with it was either king 8 or king 9. And so I've got like, 1 over and over to the middle pair, or to the middle, card. And it was the same thing. There was, 2 clubs on the board, but I didn't have the king of clubs. And he's like, now with the king of clubs here, you got to either lead or go for a check raise. He said, but without it, it's probably okay to check give up. He's all, but that's what you can do to balance your air is, when you've got the overcard with the backdoor draw, he's like, that's the time to put in the check raise. And he said, you'll just print money. He said, but just consistently checking giving up unless you hit something, you're going to be bleeding money there. You have to sometimes lead or check raise with your air.
What is the, well, that I agree with. I mean, especially if you're taking any amount of flops, is, you know, you have to win half the pots when you have air or whatever. At what stack depth is he making this argument for? Is he talking about check shoving with the back doors or?
No. Just check raising. We're pretty deep.
Okay. I think people sometimes put a little too much, emphasis on those backdoor things. Cause it's like, well, if then my backdoor hits, if he calls my check raise and then if I get one of my backdoor, if I increase my equity on the turn, well then I don't mind shoving. But if he calls your check raise, he's pretty strong and he's calling your turn bet anyways. So, I mean, I'm not challenging Mark on that, but, I'm the same way. If I got the backdoor, that does change things, but I think a check raise there, especially with that kind of board, 9-6 deuce or whatever you said, check raise there is, you know, almost profitable with any two cards. I mean, unless you're, you know, not doing it all the time, obviously they're going to think you're full of shit. But, anyways, just throwing that out too. Just, it's good to have people disagree over poker hands just to remind ourselves that constantly have to look at things critically.
Yeah.
But quickly, if I can go back to Mr. Assassinato again. Mm-hmm. It's good to have us argue and look at things differently, by the way. I think I told you I had a buddy who's like, the problem is he's like, you two are both so damn friendly. He's like, the good shows is when guys are going at it. You know what I mean? So we got a disagreement here. Not a disagreement, but I'm really feeling anxious about this. Well, there's a famous anecdote, or maybe not famous. Again, I'm going to bring in my book talk every now and then. Mm-hmm. But Walker Percy, who is a pretty famous novelist in his own right, was with Shelby Foote, a southern writer, and they were going over to William Faulkner's house. And Shelby Foote refused to get out of the car to meet Faulkner because he was like the great man of the great southern writer. Like, you know, he didn't feel worthy of his, quite the same thing with his husband. And there's the same, from, Last Tango in Paris, the movie. I forget the name of the young French actor. He did not have any scenes with Brando, but he had an opportunity to meet Brando, but he refused to go on the set when Brando was there. He was so intimidated because Brando was he didn't want to meet his idol. So, I mean, I don't want to impress, but I am an Assassinato fan, I guess would be the word. I hate to, but, yeah, I think because, Carlos now, like, knows everybody in the poker world, which doesn't really interest me that much, other than they keep all buying him dinner, including myself, which is pretty funny because, like, the first time at Bovada, I bought Carlos some, chicken dish and, like, cheapo stuff and some ice cream, and he was like, man, thank you, man. And I bought him, like, at least 3 meals in Vegas, and not once did he, like, did it occur to him to say, hey, we want to pay for this? Or he's so used to people just wanting to, and it is a good bargain for buying Carlos $15 in nachos gets you all sorts of poker insight, and of course he's great company. Yes, but it is sort of funny. But anyways, I know he knows, like, a lot of people in, like, the poker world, but then when I saw him interacting, he was talking about how he's hanging out with Assassinato, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? How are you in that world? I'd like to hang out with Assassinato there. But, anyways, this all goes to the point. I was going to say, if we don't have some really interesting kind of stuff to talk about, I almost feel, I mean, not that we don't deserve to interview him and stuff, but, no one's going to hear this episode until after we talk to him. But if you want to get out there on Twitter and stuff, he's like, hey, if anyone has any questions for Assassinato, let me know, because we're looking forward to this interview. I just thought I'd throw that out to you as an idea.
Okay. Yeah, I'll throw it out there.
Because, we'll see. But, do we have Mr. Doug on yet, or are we waiting here still for his,
we do. We should probably give him a couple minutes. He said, he asked if we could start a couple minutes later. His, girlfriend's finishing up vacuuming. So that could be a little distracting. But, I got a quick hand if, you want to go over one before he comes on.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. This is in I got fourth. It was a turbo $22 MTT. I ended up getting fourth. Of course, I should have got first, but whatever.
How many entries?
98, I think.
Okay.
Something like just under 100. Let's see. Okay. We're pretty much, this is like hand 11. We basically just started the tournament. Everyone's got, What are we at here? About 150 big blinds, más o menos, something like that. Okay, blinds are 15-30. Under the gun limps. I don't have many hands on him. I've only got 26 hands on him. He's a 15-8-0, so at 26 hands, I don't think that really says anything. Under the gun limps for 30. I'm under the gun +1. We are 7-handed, and I've got ace jack of diamonds. What are you doing in this spot?
I'm sorry, there's a limper, and did anyone else call?
No, I'm right after the limper.
I'm Googling Alex Fitzgerald wife. I'm trying to figure out which one of you has a hotter Latin American wife. Your wife's pretty damn hot, so he's got something to beat there, but, you know.
She's a cutie. She's a cutie.
I'm sorry. Okay, guy limps under the gun, and then...
And then I'm under the gun +1 with ace jack suited, ace jack of diamonds.
I'm raising there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your sizing? If 15-30, he limps for 30. What are you going to bump it up to?
I would just 3x it, make it 90.
Okay.
Maybe even, make it a little more if you think he's going to, yeah, I just don't, the thing is, if you end up seeing it 6 ways to the flop, you hit her an ace or a jack, someone's got 2 pair, you call, on the other hand, you hate to get blowed off if, you 3-bet it and then someone else, then this guy pops it big. Yeah, I'm 3-betting. I mean, this is kind of always well, not really new, that just flatting is like always kind of a bad decision in a lot of spots, unless, you got your 9-8 on the button and 9-8 suited and you really want to see a flop. But, I don't know. I'm sure there's other people who could argue differently, but, you're deep and, 3-betting is good. And even if you don't hit the flop, maybe you don't know a lot about this guy, but he might be one of those guys who's going to be folding the flop 2 out of 3 times. So you're building the pot a little bit, just, not to hope to hit a hand, but just to, or necessarily even to keep other people out of the hand, but just to drag another, a bigger pot post flop when you see bet and he folds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I went way too big. I went, 144.
Okay.
I don't know where I got that from. I think, I don't know. I don't know why I did that. Normally, I think right there I would raise 111. I think I'd raise 111. I don't know why I did 144, but for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I will do real big sizing early, pre-ante, but almost always with big hands. Like if I 5x you in the first couple levels, I can almost guarantee you I have aces or kings.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is,
I do the same thing.
So, okay, you make it 144.
144 folds around to the small blind, who calls, and then the big blind calls as well. Or I'm sorry, folds around to the big blind who calls, and then the original limper, he also calls. So we go to the flop 3-handed. I've got position against the big blind and the under the gun limper, and the pot is 447.
Are you double barreling? I say that only half mockingly. Like a lot of times I just go by, it's totally arbitrary. Like I should almost throw a coin in the air. Whether, like, how hard am I going to fight for this pot?
Yeah.
Early in tournaments, you could argue that it shouldn't be much at all. But, yeah, to me, it's like if I fire that first bullet, like, God damn it, I got to fire number 2. So it's almost like, okay, let's hit this flop or I'm going to check, give up. But, obviously you should be studying what the flop is and the texture before you make these kind of decisions. But, yeah. I'm sorry. Right. Go ahead. So the flop is?
Well, the flop is 8-10-3 rainbow, no diamond. So I have no backdoor diamond, but it does create some kind of interesting turn cards. A 9 or a queen or a king or an ace or a jack, of course.
First of all, I think that's a pretty good flop for your hand, actually, against these guys shouldn't have any overpairs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have like suited connectors, 10-9, Jack 10, King 10 suited. But most of their hands are going to be like big aces, small, medium pairs. I mean, they could conceivably have a set.
I think it hits their range more than mine. Don't you think? I mean,
well,
8,
you're the only one who should have an overpair. I mean, otherwise, you know, they should.
Well, I'm saying I think they have a lot of more middling cards in their range than maybe the small blind or the big blind doesn't, because he had to wait for the under the gun limper to act behind him. So he might have more Broadway cards, but I would think the under the gun
I guess
limper would have more things
early
like,
in tournaments, people do just call a lot of shit. But I mean, how many 10s should be in their range, really? 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited.
Okay, let's see.
Jack 10 off, Queen 10 off. They should be folding. But anyways,
that's a good point. Okay, so they got 10-8 suited, 10-9. Well, let's say 10-8 suited plus. And then they've got, as far as offsuit, probably Jack 10 and Queen 10 only offsuit. No, Ace 10 offsuit, King 10 offsuit.
Queen 10 offsuit, if you ask me, is a pretty hideous call there, especially from the big blind at a position, you know. But, you know, it is early in tournaments. People just like seeing flops. You know, okay. I'm one of those too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I might overcall with the 6-9 suited in the big blind. Okay, fuck it. This is 6% of my stack. Let's hope this guy's at the top of his range. We flop 2 pair kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to range them, you know. But I'm just saying I don't hate this flop necessarily.
Okay.
And
right.
like, and if they call, I mean, it's a great flop. They're not getting away from pocket 7s or 9s or any pair here. But then again, if they don't raise you, there's a lot of good turn cards. Not just stuff that gives you a straight draw, but sort of any paint card perhaps. Because they shouldn't be floating you with their big aces and their overcards. If they call, they have a pair.
Yeah.
More often than not, unless they're going to try to steal it. But out of position, that's a little less. You have position here, so. Anyway, so what transpires?
Okay, so with the basically 450 in the pot, the first player, he bets 150 into a 450 pot. The under the gun limper, he calls the 150. What's your action here? I mean, we're never folding, right? We're at least calling. Are you ever raising, or are you just going to peel a turn and see?
No, I'm raising or folding here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could say there's interesting turn cards, but the runner or straight isn't a great chance. So, and like I said, you should be the only one with an overpair, unless the under the gun guy is just playing queens passively. Well, let's see. You know what I mean? Like, you might have ace king. So early, it's hard to, you know, I think it's probably a fold, but you know how I am. Let's see. There's 430 in the pot. There's about 700 something in the pot, right?
There's 750 in the pot.
So I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I make a raise to 525 here, is that going to work 50% of the time?
Okay.
Because if it works 50% of the time, because like I said, probably you're the only with an overpair. But if it works 50% of the time, you've just made a wildly profitable play by raising there. Because you either lose 500 or you gain 700. So, you know, that over 10 hands, you know, so I don't know. Again, early in a tournament is probably a fold. I hate it when people donk bet into me.
Yeah, the guy, I forgot to mention, the guy that was in the big blind is Mbop. He's I can't remember his name, but I think he's a TPE pro, so he's good. But I thought it was odd that he was leading for so little on the flop. I mean, that almost feels like 7-8 suited or something, like middle pair with a crappy kicker or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be if I would do that with the nuts too.
Okay.
With a set. I mean, just to balance yourself. So, I don't like the flat. No, I definitely don't like the flat. I'm not sure I understand the point of that. I think it's a fold or a raise. Okay. I guess early stages of a tournament, hold on to your chips. And, but you know me, this is how I like to play. And, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if one of them had a set here, but, you're still the only one who should have an overpair. And you're making it, if they each have a one pair hand, There's no flush draw out there. Flush draws are going to call you. I don't know. That's my first instinct. Anyways, but I don't understand the flat. I personally don't like it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd be tempted to raise. I'm always looking at how many chips are in the pot.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, a raise here. Like I said, some of the stuff is just like I do is just kind of, arbitrary. Oh, there's 2,800 in the pot. Someone only bet 700. Okay, good. Let's triple it up. 2,100.
Yeah.
I mean, if it works half the time, it's profitable. If it's working 2/3 of the time, it's ridiculously profitable.
Yeah.
So, especially in position, and the river raises are not, because they know they don't have to put another bet in, are probably not as great, but flop and turn raises, especially if they've got one pair of hands and they don't know what you're going to do on the river, are just hard to deal with out of position. It's hard to, it's really tough to chase those draws or stick around with one pair of hands. But again, this is early. This is a rebuy tournament, right?
Yeah.
And your guy with the ace-10 might reshove on you. The guy with the 9-jack might reshove on you, or whatever draws are out there. I'd probably fold, but go ahead. Sounds like you call.
I did call, yeah. You're convincing me of the raise, though. I like that line better. I end up calling, and the turn is the jack of hearts. So the board now is 8 of clubs, 10 of spades, 3 of hearts, jack of hearts.
Okay, good turn card, obviously.
I thought so. And small blind checks with 887 in the pot. He bets 598. So there's 900 in the pot. He bets 600. He bets 2/3.
The under the gun limper.
Under the gun limper.
He could have hit a straight, right?
Could have.
Jack 10, certainly plausible.
Mm-hmm. He could have picked up something with maybe some equity, like King Queen of Hearts or something like that. But now he's got an open ender with a flush draw. Or
again, King Queen of Hearts. I don't like his if he's calling that pre-flop, or it could be. It's just such a small bet, like you said, by the big blind pre-flop. He could be fuck it. I might hit my car here. And like I said, people just don't fold a lot early.
Yeah.
My first instinct. What was your first instinct? I know this is always a stupid question I ask. What was your first instinct why did I call the flop? The guy has 2 pair. Now I'm stuck in this hand.
My first instinct was.
Or did you thought you hit gin here?
I thought I had the best hand. My first instinct was something like, good, he hit his jack too. He's sitting there with something like Queen Jack, King Jack, and then my other thought was, he could also have Jack 10. Or Jack 9 was another one that I was hoping for, so maybe now he hit top pair with an open ender, and, to continue his open ender, and I'm ahead of that, and so I thought I was ahead.
That's plausible. Well, you're not folding here, I guess.
I didn't think I could fold.
What are the starting stacks?
5,000. So, 150 bigs.
There's going to be 1,800 something in the pot. Hopefully the big blind folds. You got to call 1,100 on the river. I mean, whatever. Top pair, top kicker. You got to call at this point. You floated to hit this card.
Yeah.
So unless you have some sort of strong read on the guy, he only had a few hands on him, but his VPIP was pretty low.
Yeah.
But Jack 9 limp call into the gun is kind of strange. I don't know what this fucking guy has. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a set of 8s or something.
Okay.
Like I'd be leaning because it's such a dry board. There's so few draws on that. If I'm him, I flat with my set there and try to build the pot on the turn. But on the other hand, I'm discussing the very tippy top of their range there. Like you said, he could have just been floating, picked up a draw. So what did you decide to do?
I decided to call. I thought my hand was too strong to fold. I call the 598, and surprisingly, the big blind calls. So he must have picked up some equity on the turn, too. Maybe he had 2 hearts. Maybe he had 8-7 of hearts or 8-9 of hearts or something. I don't know. So we go to the turn. There's 2,700 in the pot. We go to the river, and the river is probably the worst card in the deck, the 7 of Hearts. So the final board is 8 of Clubs, 10 of Spades, 3 of Hearts, Jack of Hearts, 7 of Hearts. The big blind checks, under the gun checks, and I don't see any reason to bet here, do you?
No.
No, okay. I checked behind, and the under the gun limper had Jack 10 for 2 pair. So I felt like I went wrong somewhere in the hand, and I think you're right. I think it was on the flop. I think
Yeah,
I
raise
think
or
I should have
fold.
raised there.
But I mean,
Or
he might call your raise, and your
I'm
chips,
sure he would. Yeah.
your chips are all getting in there. So yeah, like I said, I guess I was sort of right there. That just both their ranges are just capped there. There's neither. It's unlikely they got a huge hand. I mean, so I would have raised.
Okay.
I said 525. Maybe that wouldn't have scared him off. Maybe you would have had, if your read, you'd be strong with your read that neither of them has a monster. Maybe, even bigger.
Yeah.
750 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not, like I said, I don't know why I guess that guy can't bet the river. I think he probably should be trying to squeeze a little value out of that hand.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, no, I don't know. 3 to a flush and 4 to a straight. Yeah, you can't dislike him. But, yeah, that was my first guess.
Okay.
On the turn when he bet big, especially when he bet big.
Yeah.
Is that he's got a big hand. He's got a set or he's got 2 pair.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles and wrap.
Hey guys.
Doug, how you doing?
Hey, good Steve. How are you?
Good.
Doug, thanks for coming back.
Hey, my pleasure, Mike. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes. Thanks for coming on. So, how's the last 4 months been? The last time we had you on was several months ago, and you just quit your job and started grinding. And fill us in.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been having a blast doing this. I love being on my own schedule. I love the new life. I've met a lot of really cool people. Doing a lot of different things now. As far as studying and actually, I've talked to Steve a little bit about a podcast that I'm trying to get off the ground with Daryl Jace. So that is something new I'm working on, and that's been a lot of fun.
Right on.
Yeah. So
how do you know Daryl? Did he do some? Did you get some coaching from him?
I contacted Daryl just before I left my job to play full time, and was kind of doing some sort of life coaching stuff with him. And then I actually met him at Foxwoods when the WSOP circuit was there, and played a little bit with him there. And we kind of just got talking to each other and went and had a coffee, and ended up when I got back from that, I talked to him on Skype, and he was looking for someone to help with a podcast and kind of do the technical side, do the editing and all that, and asked me if I wanted to come on with him. And it's been I think we've done 3 or 4 episodes since then. So yeah, Daryl's a super cool guy.
What's the name of the podcast?
Well, actually, that's a good question. We don't have a name yet, so we're just kind of calling it the podcast right now. We need to come up with a name. So I don't know if you guys...
I'm not a marketing expert, but I do think you need to do better than that.
Yeah. How about D Squared podcast or D&D or Doug and Daryl? There's something with the 2 D's there that I think you could do.
I think the word poker probably needs to be in there somewhere. Or
that should probably be that way when people search for it. Poker comes up.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talk a little bit about poker on the podcast. Most of our guests have been poker players. But it's funny. I don't know if you guys know this about Daryl, but he is notoriously bad at coming up with names. Like all of his screen names on poker sites were always like, one of them was AAAAA. One of them was like fuck screen names. I don't know what some of the others were, but he doesn't want to think of a name.
How about Doug and Daryl talk poker?
That's a little clunky.
Is it? Doug and Daryl talk poker?
Yeah.
Doug and Daryl poker podcast.
Yeah, if anyone listens to this and has ideas for us, please let us know because we're struggling.
Okay, that's the first step. You got to have a name.
Yeah, we got to come up with a name. That's
Mike
terrible.
and I actually struggled with that for a while. It was probably a week of texting back and forth, just random shitty names, and then finally, I think Mike thought of it. You thought of it, right? The Heads Up Poker podcast.
Yeah. Well, of course,
Yeah.
the one I really like, not just because it was my blog and I was trying to get traffic over there, because, nobody really looks at my blog. It's just for my own pleasure. But I thought Bless You Kanish was a great name for a podcast, just for those who love the Rounders movie and, especially especially because we were going to be geared towards, in my mind, sort of lower limit grinders and not trying to, talk to guys who play 100, 200 PLO kind of shit,
Yeah.
That's funny. That is a cool name.
It is, yeah. I was afraid we needed, like you said before, Mike, we needed something with poker in the podcast, where people wouldn't know what it was. Kanish is tough to spell. And the thing I really liked about it, though, is it's got, our favorite poker movie thing in there. And Kanish is, the ideal grinder.
I knew it was great, but I just capitulate to all your dumbass ideas, Steve. So that was kind of that's interesting that Daryl even listens to podcasts. Not that I know the guy, but for some reason I'm somehow I just see the guy as not even knowing they're existing, I see him DVDs. Who came up with this idea? You know what I mean?
What happened to 8-tracks?
Such a peculiar dude that he's but yeah, man, I want to hear that shit for sure. That'll be good.
Yeah, maybe after we record this, Doug, if you got a minute, I can screen share with you and then show you exactly what I do to record this. I've got 2 recording programs that are running right now. I can show you the whole bit.
Absolutely, yeah. If you don't mind, sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Ask Steve if he can put his underwear on before you screen share, though. Just letting you know.
Well, that's half the show right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I want to going a little deep to the poker success, or I mean, just how I was being. I'm still skeptical that poker is. You can make a living at it, even for smart guys who are very driven. I mean, are you? I mean, you don't even go into specific finances, but it sounds like you're optimistic and you feel you made the right choice and you're not worried long term that you can make a living doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went through a pretty rough period for most of the past few months after I left my job. I went on the biggest downswing I've ever had. Played, I was going, before last year I played just Bovada all year, and then with getting in with the stable and getting backing, I kind of opened up and played every US site, played every buy-in, every tournament, and I think that I had some mental game issues where I was putting too much pressure on myself, and I probably wasn't playing that well for a lot of that time. So I went on a pretty big downswing, and that was tough to deal with. But I ended up kind of running well and doing fairly well in all the live stuff I played. So I was able to somewhat sustain myself financially from that, since that was not on the backing deal. That was kind of my own thing.
Right.
So I made a little bit of money playing live, was able to get by on that, and also some of the savings I had saved up. And then I guess about maybe a month ago, maybe a little less than that, 3 weeks maybe, I decided to go back to what worked, and I decided to just play Bovada again for a little while.
Okay.
And so I did that. That was definitely a good decision. And since then, I've been doing really well the past few weeks. I've been mentally, I think my mental game's been really on point. Been really focused when I play. And I've changed up my pre-session routine a lot, which helps a ton. I think that a lot of people probably don't put enough emphasis on that. So I have basically the same routine every morning when I wake up now. And if I don't do that routine, I don't play. So that has helped a lot. And also just getting rid of all the stress I was putting on myself. And just, I said, forget the volume goals, forget all that stuff. I'm just going to basically, my emphasis is just on being as prepared as I can every time I sit down to play a session. Okay. So when I start playing, I want to be in that zone and I want to be playing my A game, or else I don't want to play. And that's been really good and has helped a ton. So I don't know if that answers question you were looking for on the financial side of things. If you want to talk more about that, definitely open to go into that. But
I kind of wanted, frankly, I love tragedy, so I kind of wanted to hear a story of you pushing a cart along the street looking for cans to recycle and that kind of shit. But no, I'm happy that you're doing well. Are you still doing the coaching sessions with Ben and Mark?
Yep, I am. That's another thing, is that the amount of studying I'm doing on a daily or weekly basis has gone up quite a bit, and the amount of volume I'm playing has gone down. So the ratio of time I spend studying compared to playing has changed quite a bit. And
what's the percentage there?
Well, I basically study at least something every day. And I would say I probably average 1 to 2 hours of studying every day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So that's probably around 10 to 12 hours or more studying every week. Okay. And then, I probably play on a normal week. I probably am still playing about 50 hours a week. But before it was more like, some weeks I'll play 40 hours, so 40 to 50, but before it was more like 50 to 60 hours playing and 4 or 5 hours studying a week. Okay. So that change has made a big difference.
Yeah, so you went from studying 10% of your total time to poker to 20 or more.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Do you think, I was thinking about this the other day, is there such because I think I was actually watching an MMA fight, and they use the term sometimes they've overtrained.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if that at poker, like at this point, this idea that poker changes so radically every few months, you have to stay on top of it. Like it occurs to me, the big discovery more than anything else a few years ago, I think, where half the players, at least in a tournament, are just doing it wrong. They're way too loose early and way too tight late. You know what I mean? So, just amp up the aggression as the tournament goes on. Try to figure out which guys are too passive and which guys are too aggressive, and just play pots in position. Not just strip it down to poker's easy, but like, I feel like I know enough now that, every time I watch a video, I learn something, but it's almost like you just got these, voices coming at you in a million directions. It's like, okay, let's just play my game. I've won tournaments. I'm good.
I think that, Sorry. Yeah.
You already understand the question.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing you said about overtraining in MMA, I think that absolutely crosses over to poker. I think that it's a little bit different, the way that people overtrain for poker, but it's definitely something that happens. I see it all the time, and I've definitely done it myself in the past. And I would say that what a lot of people, the sort of, I guess I'll say mistake a lot of people fall into is that they try to study too many different concepts all at once. So let's say somebody watches one video a night for a week, and the first night they watch a video on push fold, and then they watch one on game theory, and then they watch one on bluffing the turn, and they watch all those videos in 1 week, and then they play a session on Sunday after seeing all this stuff, and they see a spot where that loosely resembles a spot they saw in one of those videos, and they say, oh, well, I think I can bluff this turn, and you have 500 different things in your mind about that you went over the past week. So it's really hard, almost impossible to apply all those things. I think that you really need to focus on one specific thing at a time and try to really nail that down before you move on to something else.
Okay.
And I see a lot of people trying to do too much at once, I think.
Yeah, Dusty Schmidt said the same thing. He said, figure out one concept, master it, then move on to the next one. And don't move on to the next one until you got the first one.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's not just the poker thing, it's just learning in general is, that way.
Yeah.
You're going to learn much faster if you take sort of an incremental approach and focus on one thing at a time and really nail it down.
Yeah. That's good advice.
But just thinking about this too. Like I was telling Steve, I'm trying to write a book now, and I've read like almost 1,000 novels in my life and read a bunch of how to read books. And I'm studying sentence. I'm like, it's time to write a goddamn book here. So like,
Awesome,
so I don't know. With poker, it's like, okay, which I don't know if I'm capable of, but with poker, I'm just like, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but at some point I think, you've won poker tournaments and, there's still more to learn, but, I don't know. I'm sorry, Steve. I'm babbling. What was your question?
I was going to ask you about your bankroll. So when what's your typical buy-ins now? Like, are you doing? I saw you ship that $55 Bovada. Congratulations! And so, are you doing 55s and below, or are you doing 100s, or what are you?
Yeah, I was doing 55s and below for up until about a week ago. I shipped that one, and then I had a few other scores. So now I moved up, and I'm back to just playing everything on Bovada. But moving down and just cutting out the 109s and just playing everything below that. It was pretty helpful when I was in a downswing, and I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when the 109s I feel are probably my lowest ROI tournament. Not only because of the price of the buy-in, but just because of the way they're structured, especially on Bovada. So the weeknight there's two 109s, and they're both pretty bad structure. One is a turbo, and one is what Bovada calls a deep stack, but it's not really a deep stack, and it's so it's kind of a fast structure. And then so like the 55s are the 10K stacks with 10-minute levels, so you have a much deeper starting stack. The tournament plays much deeper all the way through, so you're able to realize your edge a lot more.
So here's where I need to jump in with the brag. Obviously, Steve, I just told Steve this. I won a 109 last night at Bovada for 11,400.
Oh, nice. So was that the part of the series, or was that?
Yeah, that was event number 2, I think, or something. So yeah.
Awesome! Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Shipped it.
And
how many players were there, Mike? Like 500 or
560, I believe. So yeah.
Nice.
Of course, I luck boxed my way there. I'm leaving that part out, but anyways, it is interesting how my ROI was always higher at the bigger buy-ins, and I don't know if that's because it's just higher concentration. I play my A game, and I get frustrated against the bad players doing bad things and just ship my king 9 for. I don't know. I
mean, I think that's could easily be it. Yeah. I've had times where I can't play an $11 and focus on it. I mean, if you're not interested in the game, you're not going to be playing your best. So that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
You, I also, noticed you did final table a circuit event like a month or two ago, right?
Yeah. I final tabled a 365 at Foxwoods. Totally punted at the final table to get 4th place, but it happens. Yeah. I'm pretty happy overall with my play for the whole series, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
The fun part is when I want to talk, because I've had this conversation with Carlos, of course, Cash, the main event. I'm like, dude, after the excitement of this, how do you go? He's like, I like online. I like being alone in I don't see nothing more fun to me than going deep in a tournament and seeing the tables break down, and especially if you make a final table.
Yeah.
My obvious question is, doesn't your thirst for, although it's much less EV, I think, especially if you're traveling, but, did you build the big hunger for live tournaments is my question.
Yeah. I mean, I love playing live tournaments, and I think a big part of that is because I don't play them very often. So when I do go play, it's nice to get out and interact with human beings instead of just sitting in front of a screen all day. So when I finally do get out to a casino, I really enjoy it, because it's so infrequently. I don't think I could be a live pro and just do it all the time. But it's nice to mix it up and play live every 4 months or whenever I can go play. So yeah, anytime I go to a live event, I'm really excited to get there, and I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, anyways, even if I was somehow making some ridiculous amount, making $150 an hour playing online, of course, I should never leave my house. But I would still be getting a plane ticket to go to Atlantic City and pay for hotel rooms and be, where it's just marginally profitable, probably. So that's, anyways, something that I probably need to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I feel like some people, it's hard to justify sometimes going and playing like a 365 ring event when your ROI is probably higher just playing one day online.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are some skills you can learn going and playing that 365 that you might not learn otherwise. I think that live is a different game, and the more you flex that muscle, the better you're going to be live. So I think there's more value to going and playing a small live tournament than just strictly the ROI you expect in that tournament.
There's something too for your mental well-being too. I've noticed when I go and I go play live for a week or more, and when I come back to online, like I'm excited again. You know, it's no longer like just a grind. It's like,
yeah.
You know, there's something about incorporating those two, like you said, that makes you excited to do the other one again, and then when you get back to live, then you're excited about that, and then when you come back to online, you're excited about that, and
I
at least for
agree with
me,
that.
for my mental well-being, it's good to go back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I'll go play live cash for a day if I'm feeling like I'm kind of burnt out and sick of sitting in a chair in front of my computer for 12 hours a day. I'll just go play live 1-3 for a day, and it's just, you know, kind of a fun thing. I'll go have fun and then come back the next day and be kind of refreshed and more into firing my session online.
Yeah.
The other problem is there's no busty cocktail waitresses online.
That's
I
true.
mean, probably not usually for most environments. If I want to ask a little bit more about the coaching, specifically with, is it with Ben and Mark? You still get together with those guys?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just say, when you're in the middle of this nerd fest, who is the nerdiest of this group? I'm just curious. You don't have to.
Probably, yeah,
Jacob?
Jacob, yeah, definitely Jacob. What am I?
Jacob, does Jacob actually have the pocket protector with the pens there? You probably can't see the screen. I'm just no.
Yeah, I would be surprised, but yeah, he's definitely a very math heavy guy. He definitely geeks out in the sessions, which is awesome. He gets really into proving things and you know, running the numbers on the spots, and it's good to have a guy like that in the session. That he's pretty fast with calculating different spots, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, we've seen that.
It's just cool to have the different perspectives. Anytime, I mean, I've done sessions where it's just one-on-one, and I've also done like 5 or 6 guy tournament review sessions where you have all these different perspectives, and a lot of times you'll have 4 different opinions on a spot where everyone disagrees on what you should do. And then Jacob just says, guys, let's just do the math and then we'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely good. Yeah.
How often do you guys get together with Mark and Ben?
It's been a pretty big lull because of the WSOP. They were out there for the whole thing. So I hadn't seen them. And it's kind of funny. They leave and all of a sudden they go on this huge upswing. But no, so it's been Mark. I just had a session with Mark the other day. They're back now, and I'm doing sessions now on my own too. I'm coaching some people, and I'm also just studying with friends from TPE. So, you know, I'm doing 3 or 4 study sessions with other people every week, and then also some stuff on my own. So just getting a ton of different perspectives is really good.
And how many students do you have?
Right now I have 2.
Okay.
One guy just finished, I had one guy a little while ago who finished up his hours, and then, so I have 2 right now. Both of them are, we were doing kind of 1 session a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's been pretty cool to do. I really enjoy it.
Okay.
It's nice to see, you see some spots you might not see otherwise. Or you see some, if you, occasionally you might get some feedback or some ideas that aren't, necessarily good, theoretically good poker plays, but you get to see how other people think. And I think that helps a lot in game, to understand how to exploit certain tendencies.
Well, that's what Mark told Steve this past week, right? He says if you coach, your game will improve.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a session with Mark. I'm going to start doing it on a regular basis, at least once a month, maybe once every 3 weeks. And there's one of the listeners of the podcast, Tony Huff. He called me and he said, "Hey, can we get together and review some hands?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So
Nice.
he's got a tournament picked out, and we're going to do that at the end of this week. And I'm looking forward to it. You know, I've got a lot of experience with teaching through the fire service, and very little with poker. But I think the concepts of teaching are very similar, and I'm looking forward to transitioning from that into cards. And yeah, this will be fun. This will be fun. And Mark was saying that. He's like, you know, the more you teach, the more you're going to learn, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I mean, if you guys ever want to get together and do a session, let me know. I'd love to do it.
Okay.
And I heard something about Mike just won a 109 or something, so maybe that would be a good one.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Did Tony contact you for coaching? Or?
Yeah, he did. I talked to Tony. He messaged me, I think a couple of days ago was the last time he sent me a message, and he I believe was pretty busy with his work schedule for a little while, and then he kind of freed up recently.
Yeah.
So we haven't set any dates yet, but hopefully look forward to working with him. Hopefully
Tony, you fuck! You have not called me once. You are Brutus, and I am Caesar, and I'm a Caesar who can take the blade and keep fighting. This guy better hope he never sees me. No, I would be totally. I think maybe I talked about this too. There was a cash game player at Oceans where I play who said, "Mike, I'd love to get together and get a little coaching from you." He was kind of like an informal thing, and it was interesting. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not a great cash game player, so I was being serious, but I also wondered, like, from the ethical viewpoint, like online, even if there's guys in the same site, well, like this guy's one of the softer spots. This guy's just rich, I guess. I don't know what his deal is. It's a young guy. He comes in there twice a week and he'll lose 2,000 and just not give a shit. Like if other players found out like I said, within like 20 words, I could just say, listen, you play too many goddamn hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't play 3-8 every time. You mix it in and you know. But every now and then he wins a big hand there and he just thinks he's playing. But his range is just so horrible. Mm-hmm. But, it'd be funny. Other players would be angry with that over me. So anyway, it just occurred to me that someone did actually ask me for coaching help. But,
you should take him up on it. You know?
Yeah,
well,
I mean, if he's playing like extremely, it sounds like it's a guy that you probably could help even if you don't play a lot of cash.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. No, I play a lot of cash. I'm just not a big winner there. Next time I see him, I should say, listen, I'm a very good tournament poker player and you might want to build a bankroll playing online or going live and I could help you there. And, I don't know, but it would be interesting because it's very taboo to, I had a couple pros say this to me once. Well, first of all, you never talk about strategy at the table. You never talk about, equity or use the terms. And, you never give someone like a little advice on, what they should do. You know what I mean? So anyways, but it's kind of interesting.
I don't know about that. I mean, there's coaches at my local card room here and they sit behind, the players and watch them and then they go out and have a cigarette and talk about the hands and then come back in and it doesn't seem like anyone give them the evil eye.
Okay, maybe.
And they're regulars at the card room too, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, he could pay you $100 an hour to sit behind him and just watch how he plays, and then you guys go out.
Well, the funny thing is, everybody when I come in, it's kind of like I told you, especially Lyman. It's like, the pro's here to take our money, and but I'm very social. I'm going to the dog track with a couple of the old guys in a few days, and I mean, everybody likes me there. You know what I mean? So it's like a different kind of situation. But they all knew I just had a couple big scores in Vegas. They're like, "Oh, there's no way." And but it is funny that I don't know what it's about, but it's just I think live and online it's like a little different there. Where I got no trouble giving advice for live poker. I mean for tournaments. But anyways, yeah, it would be. This is a small casino where the economy is relying on a few consistent losers kind of thing. So you're not supposed to be helping the one guy who's dropping 100,000 a year there. But anyways, maybe if he asks to help, I probably should offer a hand.
Yeah, indulge him. Yeah, you'll learn a lot. You'll get better. And I mean, really, your goal right now is to grind Oceans cash more than online, right? I mean,
well, after making 12,000 last night, now I have to question that. But
you could reset your sale.
Well, I'm so anti-online. We'll have to see if I get the money from Bovada. I'm assuming I am, but if there's a
Yeah, I was going to say it's Bovada too, so you're actually going to get your money now.
Yes.
So that's a nice score.
Yeah.
Nice
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Well, you haven't had any problems with Bovada, have you, Doug?
No, it's been really good. No complaints at all. Cash out's coming fast. No complaints whatsoever.
And do they come to your door and deliver it where you got to sign it? Like that's what they did for me. The FedEx, I think, showed up and it came from Canada. Is that?
I'm actually doing they have a new one now where it just gets wired directly into my bank, so I don't even have to cash a check.
No shit.
Yeah,
you can do those wires for up to like $9,000 too. You can do big ones, I think. So.
Well, there's two different ones. The one the wire I think does go up to 9,000, but that one is only certain banks. So I tried to do that one, and because my bank has a headquarters in either New York or Washington, they can't do it.
Okay.
So there's another method. I forget exactly what they call it, but you can get about 2,500 at a time, and it gets directly to my bank, and it's like a 3 or 4 day wait. So
that's the one I'm doing. I used a debit card to deposit, and then they say $2,500 directly in.
Yep,
and,
exactly.
So we'll see if that works. Like I said, they might reject it because of what bank you have, and because it's an overseas something or another. We'll have to see. Either way, you'll get the money. I guess check would be my least, the one I'd want to use least, but if I have to do check, that's fine.
Yeah. That's how I did most of last year, was just checks, until they added the new option. Mike, I wanted to mention, when you were talking about this guy at the live cash game guy who was asking about coaching, I've always kind of wondered how live coaching would work. It seems like Steve was talking about a guy that comes into his casino and just sits behind the guy. That seems so inefficient to me, to see whatever 20 hands an hour or maybe less, whatever you're going to see in a live cash game. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, all you got to do is see the guy fuck up one hand, and you could talk about that hand for a long time. I mean, especially if he's not, and this guy would get short for like $400, and then he still will call a raise with 7-10 off. And if you got two people who each have 400 big blinds, okay, yeah, take it and try to hit, smash it. But you're just not deep enough to see that hand. It's just basically talking to him about hand ranges.
Yeah.
And
what I was going to say is, you can do all that stuff without being in a game. So in other words, what if you took him into a room and you guys sat in a room for 2 hours and talked spots? And
I wouldn't sit. I would never sit and talk any of this stuff at a table.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just curious how.
Yeah, I mean, like if I'd say, well, let's play cash for 3 or 4 hours, and I'll take notes and tell you where,
Gotcha.
I didn't like your bet sizing, and you didn't get max value here, and you were just fucking totally insane here. So that's probably how I would do it. Like the one coaching session I did with Chris Moon, and we actually discussed the hand. He just stopped, and we talked about one hand for like almost a full hour. Conceptually all the things that I was missing. So yeah, that's probably, like I said, I don't know if I would be a good coach because, for whatever, I don't know if I could coherently explain stuff. I mean, I probably could at this point. I might be underestimating myself. But yeah, if I were to give a live cash game coaching, that's probably what I would do. Just try to take 2 or 3 hands and talk about, like a lot of players just don't realize that when you're defending your big blind against an early position open, like ace 7 off is horrible hands, but 3-5 suited is great if you're deep. I mean, if you're looking for a hand to take the guy's stack, that's much better. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because so that's kind of and it took me a while to learn that. You know what I mean? Somebody opens early position, okay, ace 10 on the button. I mean, that's still a hand I'm probably calling with. But basically, all that suited crap, anything where you can get a straight and a flush, and those are usually the hands that you're winning big pot. I mean, unless you have aces versus queens, you're just not winning a lot of big pots with aces.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're 300 big blinds deep, any sort of suited connected hand is going to play better than even aces. Yeah, I would agree with that. I
mean, if you're deep enough, I guess, and depending on the right opponent, if it's a guy who just can't fold a big hand, then really, any 2 cards almost you could go with. But
oh yeah, I agree. Yep, especially in live cash for sure. Yeah.
So so I've learned that just in terms of switching up my ranges. Yeah, like the big, king. Well, I mean, anything like the biggest pot I saw yesterday playing cash is some guy who had ace 10 off and turned the gutter ball, hit for the Broadway, and the guy had a set and it all went in. So I mean, any hand obviously can win a massive pot. But for the most part, the crappy aces where you hit your ace is where you're going to lose money, and the 3-5 suited you're just going to get away from every time, unless I guess every now and then you got to check raise and try to steal some pots with it other ways, but for the most part.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah,
Mix it up.
so a lot of and a lot of these cash game guys they just don't know how to get value from their hand. You know what I mean? They almost want to they're so friendly. Some of them they want to tell you, hey, slow down. I got it. I mean, I've actually seen that before.
Yeah.
I've seen that before where it's like the guy bets the river is like, hey, be careful.
I mean, I've seen that.
Okay, I will be. Thank you.
I mean, I had that happen to me while I was at Foxwoods in a tournament, and it was kind of awkward because it was almost bordering on collusion, where the guy was. I didn't know the guy that well. I had played at a few tables with him, but there was a bunch of spots where he kind of like shook his head at me after he made a turn bet, and then I folded and he shows the set or whatever. And it was a bit of an uncomfortable situation because I'm not asking that guy to tell me when he's strong. He just did it. And, it was,
right.
It's kind of funny. I mean, it helped me in that one instance, but it's kind of ethically, it's not so good. And, it's just kind of an awkward situation to be in, but yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to do this like to profit, but I am social at the table that a lot of like, even in tournaments, I'm like, show me if I fold, and like a lot of people, they just would not show you. But for me, they want me to know they're not lying to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and in cash game, I do see that. And, and like just in terms of not getting value, they're just always worried that I've hit the runner flush, and they're not betting their top pair and the top two on the river kind of stuff. So,
yeah. I mean, the whole, talking at the table thing, that's something that I've been trying to work on whenever I play live. I tend to lean towards being a little bit more of an introverted player in live games and not talk a whole lot. So right. I'm trying to break out of that more, because I think there's a lot of spots in live, both tournaments and cash, where if you say the right thing and at the right point in the hand, you're going to change the outcome a lot of times. You're going to get that little piece of information that's going to totally change what you decide you want to do on the river or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's very valuable.
It's huge. I was talking last week. We had on. Well, it was just me, but I had on a poker psychologist, and we were talking about that. And I gave an example of. I was at the table, and it was one of those points, kind of like the worst point in the tournament, where you're just completely card dead and short stacked the entire time. So you're shoving all these marginal spots, but you're forced into it. And anyways, another one of these came along, and I had to shove 8-7 of hearts with 11 big blinds, and it folds to the button, and he looks down, and I could tell he was looking down at something like King Queen or King Jack or Ace 9 or something that he knows he should call with, and or maybe like pocket sevens or whatever. And at that point, I knew I had about a second and a half window before he acted to influence him, And I said something to the effect of, "There's no shame in folding. Just let it go. We're all having fun here. Come on." and then I was kind of laughing and smiling, and the table kind of giggled. And then he looked at me and he smiled and he said, "All right," and he throws his cards in. I know he had me beat. He knows he had me beat, and the whole table knows he had me beat. But because I had been friendly at the table, and
Steve, you conniving fuck.
I know, but because I had been friendly at the table,
that's not what I was talking about.
Kind of wants to keep me around,
stealing money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a big dynamic to that to live that you don't get online, of just being social and friendly with everyone at the table, and it can win you some chips, or keep you from busting when
absolutely.
You should.
I think it's a huge, valuable skill.
And of course, the big 5-star rule, if you want people to have fun at the table, not just to get them, is just not to berate the amateurs when they do something stupid to make a lot.
Oh God, yeah, that
which of course something I've done, and I vowed never to do again.
Yeah.
And, I think I can't remember if we just talked about it the last podcast. We do some woman who she had no money in the pot, and someone limped 5-5, and people were very flatty. So if I had a big hand, I was making it, and I raised like $50 with aces. Mm-hmm. And she called, turns out, like out of behind me with 6-9 off with $300 behind her. Mm-hmm. And of course she hit 2 pair. I can't even remember the hand, but she played a ridiculously awful hand, depending for her cards and her stack and all that kind of stuff. But I only lost $300. I've won hands like that too. So I just, nice hands. Yeah. I was happy that I did not express my unhappiness. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to be happy that she called there, because in the long run, you're going to win.
I've been, that kind of reminds me of, this is a little bit of a tangent, but, one thing I've been doing online to kind of help my mental game and to help me not tilt and just kind of be happier throughout my session is like certain spots where I get it in pre-flop, I will reverse sweat myself. So like I have 15 big blinds, someone's really short and they shove 3 big blinds, or they call me with 3 big blinds and they have just any 2, 3-4 off or whatever, and I have queens or something like that, ace king, something. I'll sweat them, I'll cheer for them, and just kind of to myself, I'll say, I hope this guy binks the 3 or the 4 so he can stay in. And then when it happens, it probably sounds crazy, but then when it happens and they bink, I just kind of laugh about it, and it just makes the session more enjoyable.
Mike Caro mentioned that. He said that whenever he gets an opponent that's all in, he cheers for the opponent. And he says, no matter what happens, you win. He says, because if you're rooting for the opponent and he wins, then, you're happy because you were cheering for him. He said, if you end up winning the pot, he said, well, then you still win because you get the pot.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never tried it myself, but you're the second person other than Mike Carroll that
it works. I'm telling you, it works.
Okay.
Well, certain players at a cash table, it almost doesn't matter. They're leaving Busto.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
if they win, I'm cheering more for them when they're playing against someone else.
Yeah.
But if it's not a huge pot, I don't mind them, sucking out on me or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm at a final table bubble of a Sunday major and I get it in versus someone, I'm definitely not cheering for them. But certain spots where it's early tournament or whatever, I'll do it. But sometimes you can't. When it's a big spot, sometimes you can't pretend well enough to pretend that you hope the other guy wins.
Yeah.
But I was, that's funny. Last night, I don't know if you've ever done this before, where you're like, there's only so much run good you can have in an online session, I think. I mean, I think there have been days where I've won 2 tournaments, but that's pretty infrequent. So I was at 2 final tables last night, but one of them had 11,000 for first and one had like 1,400. And then in the one that had 1,400, there was like 5 of us left, and I took a bad beat where I got like ace king against ace 10, and the guy hit a 10. And I actually did a fist pump. I said, that means I'm winning the other one.
That's funny, yeah.
Because, what I mean? Like, it's like, if I win, I can't win them both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's funny. I do stuff like that all the time.
So what is, you weren't in Vegas this summer, right? I know that's not a big priority of you. I think of yours. I think we talked about that before.
No, as far as getting the games in, like I wasn't too upset that I was missing those tournaments. I did really want to go just to experience it. I've never been to Vegas, so I kind of wanted to go out for a few weeks just to see what it was all about and meet everyone, and put a face to the name kind of thing with a bunch of these guys that I study with and stuff. But anyway, yeah, I didn't make it out. I had a bunch of weddings throughout the series and it just didn't work out. But I am definitely planning to go next year. And really looking forward to meeting some of you guys. So, did you guys both go out for the series?
Yeah, I was there for a long time. I was there for like 4 or 5 weeks altogether.
Okay.
Steve was there just long enough to show his face and do a couple shitty card tricks, and thank God we got him out of town.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. About a week.
That's funny. Everybody says they're doing it just for the experience. I guess I'm just a weird, fishy glory hound here. I'm the one who wants to go there and win a damn bracelet and have the big score. It's pretty fun.
Oh no, I'm into that, dude.
Well,
I want the money. I want the bracelet. I want it all.
For me, like, I would have to sell action for sure to play most of the stuff out there. So for me, it's like I don't get that excited about playing like a bunch of 1Ks and 1500s with big fields where I can only play one tournament a day and I have to sell a bunch of action.
Right.
It's not. I mean, it would be a lot of fun, but that's why I say I'm going for the experience more so.
It's all about the hourly, as you pros say. I'm trying to. Yeah. For the first time, I think I had a revelation this week because, I had a good week live where I made a couple $1,000, like 30 hours of play with 2,000 profit. And I'm like, first tournament I'm looking on the schedules, one at the LAPC, I think coming up in a month it's a $3,700 buy-in. And I'm like, that's a lot of hours of poker to pay for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So usually I don't even think about those terms. And, one guy in Vegas I know, he plays 10-20. I even asked, I said, do people buy a piece of you? He says no. So I don't know I don't ask him about money, but he's got to have, 50,000 plus at least.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's like, I'm asking about the main event. And he's like, I don't have money for that. That's too much, too much to risk.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yep.
Do we have any, hands to talk about, Steve, or what do you have? If Doug doesn't mind?
No, not at all. I'd love to.
Okay, I got one here. This is from Final Table of a $22 turbo. We are 5-handed. Let's see. I'm in the big blind. I've got 23 bigs.
Okay.
And I've got 6-7 offsuit. There's a guy with 12 bigs. He's in the cutoff, and he min raises. So the blinds are 3,000, 6,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's 12,000 in the pot with the antes and stuff before it gets to him. He min raises to 12,000, and then it folds to me in the big blind. So there's 24K in the pot, and it's 6 for me to call.
Okay, I'm definitely flatting.
Okay, flatting here. Okay.
Unless I would have to have some really crazy read or crazy reason to do anything but flat here. And the only other thing I would be doing is shoving or 3-betting, and I would only do that if you said the guy that opened was in what position?
He's in the cutoff with 12 bigs.
12 bigs, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm probably just flatting like all the time here then.
Okay. Okay.
Are you
too,
pretty,
Mike? You'd flat?
I'd like it a lot more if he had 17 or 18 bigs, certainly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make it, because, that's about, you're not going to smash just generally speaking, if you take the flop, you get any piece of it, you're shoving it in, right? Even if it's ace, king, 7 or what is your, I'm just curious about.
Yeah. I mean, any pair, definitely any pair, any open-ended straight draw, maybe even in some spots. I mean, depends on the villain, but some spots I might even get shove, like semi-bluff shove flops with like a gut shot if I think I have some fold equity.
Okay.
Yeah, gut shot and a backdoor flush to me is a big hand there, so.
Yeah.
I felt like if he had like 8 or 9 big blinds, I would have just folded. And if he had like 17 or 18, I would have 3-bet. And then like with 12, I'm like, I think calling's the right move, but I'm not sure.
I'd be more likely to shove against his 12 big blinds than if he had 17 or 18, I think, actually.
I think I'm in that camp too. And it depends on his stats.
Oh, did I say shove? I meant 3-bet. Is it?
Well, 3-bet, 3-bet call. You have to call if you 3-bet. So that move,
really? 7 high?
It's either flat or shove there. You're never 3-bet folding.
I don't think I would have much of a non-shove 3-betting range there if we had like 18 big blinds effective.
Okay.
Unless that's like aces and it's an exploitative play, and I think that he's just like we're basically just kind of inducing him to 4-bet shove. Something like that. Okay, maybe I'll 3-bet smaller as just an exploitative thing. But in general, I don't think I have a non-shove 3-bet range there.
Huh. Okay.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't be ridiculous if you did like a really small, you got to 3-bet small, obviously. Even if he's min raising and if you 3-bet to 5.5 bigs or something, that's, if you did like a really minish, 3-bet, I suppose he could put you at the top of his range and then just flat, his king 10 and then fold to your C-bet. I mean, I don't want to completely dismiss what Steve's saying there, but I would not do that. Yeah. I would be shoving or flatting 18 bigs effective there.
Steve, what site is this tournament on?
Oh, this is on Winning. So it's on ACR.
Winning. Okay. I mean, I think that's somewhat relevant. I think Bovada plays fairly differently from ACR.
Okay.
Still kind of, solid strategy is still the same, but you're going to be able to have more information on your opponents, I would assume, if it's a site with screen names.
Yeah. This one, I've only got 44 hands on him at this point. He's 21, 22. Wait, how is that possible? 21, 22? Is that even possible?
Oh, you know what? I've seen that happen, and I think it's a problem with small sample sizes where it just rounds off because you don't. I think it's something to do with the rounding because you're not seeing it might be like 21.99 or something.
Okay.
And it shows as 22. I don't know exactly why that does that, but I've seen that happen a few times.
Okay. Yeah, I had to do a double take there. I'm like, what is it? Am I blind? Like what?
he could just be, he could just be Colombian. They do everything backwards there. So it's,
That's true. Yeah, good point.
But,
so it sounds like you decided to flat here.
yeah, I flatted. So we got 30K in the pot. He's got 61 behind. I've got 123. The flop comes, okay, so I've got 7 of diamonds, 6 of spades. The flop comes 5 of spades, 6 of hearts, king of spades.
Okay. And you said there's 30K in the pot?
30K in the pot, he has 61K behind.
Okay. Interesting. So you have second pair with a backdoor straight draw, is that right? Am I saying that right?
Backdoor straight, backdoor flush. But
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought your 7-6 was suited, by the way. I guess I didn't hear that properly. I don't know if that changes anything. Makes it less likely I shove. But anyways, I'm sorry. Let's go to the flop.
Yeah. Okay, this is kind of an interesting board texture here. I think I like your first to act, right? Yeah,
I'm first to act,
in the blue line. I think that I like check shoving, and then if flop checks through, you can lead pretty much every turn, or maybe every turn. I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I like here. What do you guys think?
The chips are certainly going in.
Yeah.
Whatever you do. I mean, if you donk bet and he raises,
Definitely got a call off, yeah.
Yeah, even I don't know. I mean, if it goes check and there's an ace on the turn and you donk bet and he shoves, I don't know, Doug, would you get away from that?
Yeah, actually I think we can, especially if it's a more recreational player. If you just think they're going to be playing fairly straightforward. Yeah, I do think we can get away from that sometimes. And the thing I like about not donking on the flop is that when you donk, well, I guess, I don't know if I guess that doesn't really apply here. When you donk, it's just because of stack sizes, you give him the spot where he can shove, which might be good for us.
Spot.
Yeah, and then he puts you in a weird spot. Whereas if you check shove, he's in a really crappy spot, and he can definitely c-bet with air a lot. So you check, you get that extra bet in there, and then you shove over it. I think that's going to get us the most value here.
Okay.
Is ace the only one on the turn you're getting away from? I mean, like 10 jack queen. Are we just like, okay, fuck it, you know? Or
I think so. Yeah, especially if it's a card that brings in some flush draws. So like if it was the queen of I forget what you said.
He's got 3 diamonds.
3 diamonds. Okay, so okay, so wait, so
three spades. So is that what you're talking about? 3 spades. There's the 6 of spades, 5 of spades, king of spades.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was 3. I thought there was 2 diamonds on the flop.
Oh, 2 spades, and I have 1 spade in my hand.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I got the 7 of diamonds, 6 of spades.
Well, we understand what he's saying. If the turn is a spade, then
okay, yeah,
you're less likely,
less
likely to fold.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I like the check shove the most, for sure. I don't think that's.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess if he's checking behind, as a passive player, and then he's willing to shove the ace turn, then I guess you got to give him credit for it.
Yeah, I mean,
just in terms of that's the only thing I'm slightly disagreeing with. I mean, I'd be tempted when I lead the turn, if he checks back the flop, I'd have trouble folding that to a shove a little bit. Like, maybe he has
I agree.
Yeah. Even with an ace king out there, I don't know.
I think I have a hard time once I make a bet. It's hard to bet fold there. And I might just go with it a lot of the time too, even on the ace. I don't know if that's good though. That might be kind of spewy, but I could definitely see myself just going with it there.
Okay.
What is
I feel better after hearing you guys talk, because I wasn't too sure about this one, but I ended up taking your guys' line. I check, and then he bets half pot. He must have just clicked the half pot button because the pot was 30. He bets 15. I insta shove, and with 46 behind, he snap calls with aces.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I wasn't sure. I mean, it's tough to kind of analyze it because we don't, he's at the absolute top of his range, but I wasn't sure if that was the right move or what, because after this, now I'm down to, 11 bigs, and I'm like,
I was going to say that
quickly went downhill after that. But.
Actually, I was going to say though that his min raise there, pre-flop, does that kind of polarize his range a little bit? I mean, pocket sevens, he's just shoving. So it's often, I mean, I will still try to steal from the cutoff with 12. I will still raise fold there personally with 12 big blinds. I don't know if this guy will, but that does, and of course there's more, crap marginal hands than there are aces or kings. So it still doesn't make your play wrong, but, yeah, I mean, if he just shoves, you can almost take aces and kings. Well, not necessarily take aces and kings out of his range, but that's just something to consider there.
I mean, very good point, Mike. I think it's villain dependent. And the other thing to consider is, has min raise been his standard opening size? So like, has he been min raising all of his opens, or has he been 2.5xing, 3xing, and now all of a sudden he min raises? I think that's significant.
Yeah.
If he just has been min raising every time, then I think that I'm pretty happy with just flatting and then just check shoving that flop. If it's strange for him to min raise, then I think we do need to be a little more cautious, but I also think that still doesn't mean it's a bad line to take.
Okay.
As I said, I misheard it. I thought it was 7-6 suited. I know it's really cutting a thin line here, but
that makes a difference.
I mean, if it's 7-6, it's like, if it was like 10 big blinds, I'm definitely folding the 7-6 suited. Okay. I'm the 7-6 off. I don't know if Doug, we want to talk a little bit about pre-flop calling ranges there, but like 10, like 10-8, I don't know. There's just certain hands I guess I like and I don't like. Like I'd much rather, to me, like 9-8 off is different than 7-6 off for whatever reason. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just, this might be a Jacob question where you start punching all the numbers in, but 7-6, post flop, it's easy what you did. You got second pair, you check shove. Pre-flop, with how short he is, I think maybe you can almost fold that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm defending much wider than 7-6 off here. And even if he's shorter, if he's got like 9 big blinds, I'm still flatting 7-6 off here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if he has 9 big blinds and you get the same flop, I'm also still check shoving when we get that flop.
Okay.
Right. Well, then it's even easier at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's the same fundamental strategy, whether post flop, I'm talking, you're going to have the same strategy, whether you defended his open off 12 bigs or 9 bigs. Post flop is basically still the same. I mean, because the stack sizes are a little different, your ranges will be skewed a little bit, but you're still going to be getting in almost the same range, I think, post flop.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Here's kind of an interesting one. It's the very next hand. Okay. So this time I'm in the small blind.
Now you're down to like 11 bigs or something.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it says I have 10 here, according to the HUD. So I guess I'm down to 10. The guy in the big blind's a pro. His name's fucking variance, but it's spelled like Vietnamese, like faux king variance. But anyways.
Okay. Yep. I've played with him. Yeah.
You know him? Yeah. Real good results. I think he's got like a ROI of I don't know, probably let's see. Oh, 16%. Not as high as I thought it was.
16%? I don't know if I'd call that a pro, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, after 1,200 tournaments, 16% ROI, 21K profit. So he's a winning player. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll accept that. Sorry.
Okay.
Such a semantic bully sometimes. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm in the small blind. I'll leave out what I had, but you're in the big blind. Let's say you're this guy. And you've got 17 bigs. Okay. It folds to me in the small blind. And
what do we have? What do we have? I'm sorry.
I'm leaving out what I got.
No, what do we have? No, what do we have in the big blind?
I've got 10 bigs.
No.
What hand?
I thought you said what hand that we have.
Oh, no. I'm leaving
you haven't
that
told
out.
us yet. Okay.
Okay. So I'm asking, what would you guys call my shove with? I've got 10 in the small blind. You've got 17 bigs in the big blind, and I shove. What would you call with there?
Okay, I like how you did that. It's kind of cool the way you framed that. Okay, 10 bigs, 17. Is there any, are we in the money? Are we on a money bubble? Do you know anything of that? You might have said this already. Are we?
Yeah, we're at the final table. There's 5 left. I think we hit the money around like, I think, God, it was like 12 or 15, something like that. So we're well within the money.
Are you in last place when is your stack the smallest when you shove out of the small blind, or is there anyone shorter than you?
I'm pretty much in last place. I got 59,000. There's one other guy that has 61,000. There's, you in the big blind as the hero or villain, however you want to look at it. You have 94,000. The other guy that, won the pot off me with aces, he has 151, and another guy has 80. So you're second in chips essentially with 17 bigs.
Okay.
I'm calling with king high, all kings.
Okay.
And I'm calling with queen 8 suited or better and queen 9 off or better. That's my first instinct. All pairs.
Okay. I think that I'm about the same range, maybe a little bit nittier actually with my kings. I'm going to fold some of my worst kings. I think probably most aces I'm going to be calling with. I don't even know if I'm going to call all aces here. Probably pretty damn close to it though.
Okay.
Just because of ICM. I think that because of, if you factor in ICM, I think we need to tighten up just slightly from just looking at pure chip EV, what we would call with.
Okay.
So I think that pretty close to Mike, but a little tighter.
Okay.
I don't really understand ICM, so I think I don't know how to spell it. I don't know how to spell it. I know the first letter's I.
Now, what about jacks? What jacks are you calling with? Any?
Ooh, good question.
Ace jack, king jack?
Oh, king jack is a fist pump call.
And then queen jack's a call, right?
Well, you're talking about jacks or lower. I would say jack 10 off, jack 9 suited maybe. Not a lot of jack highs.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Jack 10 off.
I think that's good.
Jack 9 suited plus?
Yep.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. All right. At
this point, you've made the final table. Yeah, I understand losing this hand from his perspective would, he's a king high is ahead of your range, I think, man. I got to give you credit for being someone who's going to be shoving really wide there, which is what you're supposed to be doing. So, I don't know. Although Doug's probably right. I mean, there's much to be said for fold. There's better spots where you've got fold equity against other stacks and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I've been, this is the kind of spot I've been pounding on the past 2 weeks, these push fold spots. And, I was too wide in a lot of spots, both calling and shoving. So I've kind of had a lot of surprise moments where I run these spots in, Hold'em Resources, and I find that I need to tighten up in a lot of situations, especially, with ICM considerations.
Okay. And, well, for me, this is where I'm shoving. This is my range. I'm shoving 4-3 suited plus, 5-3 suited plus, 6-3 suited plus, 7-6 off.
Are you going you're going by the shove fold chart?
I'm going by the shove fold chart, yeah.
Okay, just checking that.
7-4 suited plus, 8-6 off plus, 8-4 suited plus, 9-6 off, 9-3 suited, 10-6 off, 10-2 suited, Jack 4 off, Jack 2 suited, any queen. So any queen, any king, any ace, and any pair.
That's why I
think
say
that sounds fine.
Okay.
And that's why you're calling wider, Mike, right? That's why you're going to call off with all your kings and stuff.
I mean, again, the reason I don't study more is because I'm lazy, by the way. Now, I finally realized the idea of sitting there, and actually we discussed almost the same exact hand. I don't know if you listened to the episode with James Gettinger.
Yeah.
And it was king 3 that I called with. And it turns out he went up and played on his computer for 45 minutes and showed that in a pretty big pot, I was winning 0.3 big blinds. So it was super marginal in a spot where I have an edge on the table, ostensibly.
And
was that, but it took a lot of time for him to get the answer, and we all agreed that I was right. He said it was not I think his calling range was just a little bit tighter. I think he was like, well, king 5 suited.
No, he said king 9.
Well, originally he did that, but then we talked about it. He's like, okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's when I had to leave.
I
and
think
go to the barbecue.
he did capitulate a little bit back down. But, yeah,
Now-
I don't know. Like I said, the value, especially a final table, I guess you got to keep the ICM stuff is, but there's just, unless I've watched you fold 16 straight hands and go down from 18 big blinds to 10 big blinds with just not even understanding poker or something. I think you got to call with your king, but, we're pretty close here. But when you look at that list of hands, I mean, if for some reason you get ace king, then I'm not bothered at all by my call. I'm like, okay, I ran to the top of his range, personally.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. He snapped with, Jack 10 suited. And, at first I thought that was a little wide, but after talking with you guys, I guess it's toward the bottom, but it's still in the calling
it's
range.
toward the top, if anything. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Jack 10 suited is a really good hand, so.
Well, you said Jack 10 off and Jack 9 suited plus, so.
Well, Jack 10 suited was a given. That's why I said Jack off was the bottom of, Jack high obviously is behind Queen Deuce. You'd much rather, reshove with that kind of hand, but still. Yeah. And you had.
Jack 10 suited, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. What Jack 10 suited is considered?
I think that in that spot, Jack 10 suited is going to probably, without running it or anything, I think that Jack 10 suited is going to have better equity than like a lot of the worst kings and aces, against your shoving range.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because it has, it's all
flush and straight possibilities.
All of your flush and straight possibilities, plus all of our weak ace-x, is dominated a lot of the time by your pairs and better aces. So Jack 10 is better than the weak aces, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack 10, I would not pause. Suited, I would not pause for a millisecond in calling you there.
Okay. Neither did he.
Yeah.
He didn't either. He didn't either. Not 1 second. And I thought, Jack high. Well, maybe I'm missing something here. So, okay.
I guess you lost the pot or no?
No, I actually won that one, and then, but shortly after that, I petered out. We did lose one other player though. So
what did you have?
I had King 2.
Okay.
So.
See, I told you King 2 is a beautiful hand.
It is. Damn.
So what would, just quickly, I'm sure to the average person, just breaking down these ranges is boring as hell, but it really is important. What if, you guys had the same stack or similar stacks, Doug? How would that change? If this guy had 17 bigs and instead of 10 bigs, Steve had 14. What would be your calling range there? I mean, how much
and
tighter
Steve still
is it?
shoves?
Yeah, Steve shoves.
I mean, just to make sort of a generalization, I would say maybe around like 8 to 10% tighter.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm gonna cut out a lot of my bad kings.
I was thinking like King 6 suited and King 9 off or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds pretty close. I would say maybe like King 8 suited, King 10 off, so I think we're pretty close there.
Okay.
Fold like some of the worst ace, offsuit aces. That might be getting a little too tight though. Oh, well, for 14 bigs, actually, I think it's a pretty good fold to fold a lot of your worst offsuit aces. And another thing that I've noticed in looking at some of these spots, a lot of these spots at these shorter stack sizes, you'll find that your suited ace ranges, it's better to have like, ace 4 and ace 5 suited and then ace 8 suited plus, and then fold ace deuce, ace 3, 6, and 7. Because of those middle suited aces, you have the wheel potential.
Right.
So, I mean, this spot is probably doesn't really apply because it's blind versus blind and you're short. But it's kind of interesting that the connectedness plays in there with the middling aces.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the shove chart, by and large, is there'll be a lot of spots where it says like you shove ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, and then you don't shove again until you get to ace 9 off. And the 6, 7s, and 8s are dropped. And it's got to be because of the the straight potential with ace 10 plus and with ace 5 and below.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
But, I don't know. Cool.
Well, it's been, unless we have another hand, I think we,
No, I think that's about it. The rest of them were pretty standard. And,
I'm very happy you're doing well there, Doug.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. It's,
sounds like you're off to a good start.
Yeah. Having a great time. It's nice to come out of the downswing and have some scores, and I'm real excited for the series on Bovada.
Good.
Now, can you clear up? Steve and I had a very polite discussion prior to you getting on there, where Steve said you're thinking of buying a house, and I said, "Sugar mama, there's no possible way this man's buying a fucking house off Bovada profits. I don't care how much of a whiz he is. There's just not enough money in online American poker to accomplish this." Unless you're buying a house in Southwest Nebraska, which is, average income is about $6 a year.
Well, I am in Central Maine, so that's probably not too far off.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I do have a sugar mama that has the credit that we can use and that has a steady income for getting a loan with. But yeah, we were looking into getting a house, but we kind of gave up on it for now. We were actually trying to stop paying rent, just kind of throwing the money away on rent every month, and found that a lot of the places we were looking at, the mortgage would be less than our rent, and we'd be paying into ourselves. So it just kind of makes some sense. And we would you
can get a lot of house for cheap in Maine for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we looked at a few places. The couple of places we liked sold immediately, and we didn't even get a chance to make offers. And then we're still keeping our eyes on the market, but we kind of, our interest has gone down quite a bit. It's not a priority to find a place right now. But yeah, it's still something we're looking into.
Cool.
I did not mean that we're not deeply committed to this woman, but if the woman's making more money than you, it's kind of, the sugar mom is just an apt description, I think.
Oh no, she totally is.
That was good. What so if guys want to get a hold of you for coaching, where can they
Yeah, so check my site out, pokerproductivity.com. I have the coaching and the podcasts on there. I'm doing a promo right now where first hour of coaching is just $10. But I'm just basically trying to get people to be able to evaluate what I can do for them without having to spend anything. So, if you want to do an hour with me and see what I have to offer, just go ahead. I have a form on my site new guys can fill out, and we can set up a session. So
cool. Good deal. And you can hit us up on Twitter at HUP Podcast, Facebook, Heads Up Poker Podcast. Check out our blog, headsuppokerpodcast.blogspot.com. And we are now on PokerFuse. So you can get all our episodes there at pokerfuse.com. You can check out other poker podcasts on there. And email us with any questions or suggestions you have, headsuppokerpodcast@gmail.com.
And you can actually call Steve directly, because this man has a lot of free time.
That could not be further.
These male men are like turtles. They move like 6 feet a year. I mean, it's...
Right on. Well, thank you for coming on, Doug. Sure. Mike, I will talk to you later. And here is your
1 second. Quick.
Sorry. Hang on. Go ahead.
Doug, make sure you tweet out the name of your podcast so we can all find it once that happens.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
you got to come up with the name, man.
I'm looking forward to that.
We'll do. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
See now what have to become to stop men like him. If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely. I tuned.
You go after and you give it all you have. If you lose, at least you try, man. I failed. It's 10 times more of a man than someone said, what if? Because what if never went to the arena.
That's called courage. Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Think something's wrong, maybe it's time to stop. No, it's time to move free and further. Mentally, you must believe it before you physically start.
I choose to rise, not fall. I choose to live, not die. The day will be that day. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, right here. Belief will change my world. History will remember me. I will define myself. I will never go out, not knowing I've given everything I tried. But who am I? I am the champion. I choose to fight back.
now is a little imagination. And your imagination, guys, whether you don't believe it or not, is a preview of your life's coming attractions. You can't imagine what it's going to be. Don't ever expect physically looking at me to see it.